Alright guys, wanted to hit you with some thoughts going into this game weekend versus Abilene Christian. I'm super excited for this game. I don't know about you guys, I am normally down on these November Cupcake FCS opponents. Not a fun game, kind of a buzzkill on the year. You're in the middle of SEC play, you have LSU looming at this time. Then you have to go play a morning game versus an FCS opponent. But not this time. This time I'm excited to see what the offense looks like with Bobby Petrino as the sole leader of that group. I'm excited to see how the team comes together around E-Rob. I'm excited to see the energy of this team, the camaraderie of this team. Insiders say that most of this team that has been nicked and knacked, Evan Stewart, Bryce Anderson, those kind of guys, they're practicing and they're going to be ready to go. I don't know who you rest this weekend, but I'd like to see this team at as full go as possible and just see the personality of this team a week after they let go of their head coach. And under Elijah Robinson. Elijah Robinson is awesome. It came out this week that he has already revamped practice in ways that he sees as beneficial for this team and what this specific team needs. And that's just energy, new mojo, because I don't know about you guys, I think one of the worst aspects of the last couple of years under Jimbo Fisher, and a lot of us love Jimbo. I like him. I personally like him. But something that sucked is that I really did feel like this team was kind of stuck in mud without momentum. Just kind of slogging through, not much excitement, not much hype, just very much baseline. And that can be okay, but you're not winning. Elijah Robinson has done a couple of things to spark up practice. He's added music, player-created playlists. Apparently, according to some insiders, players are wearing sleeves now. But my favorite thing that he mentioned in the Wednesday show with Andrew Monaco out of Rudy's is that they're doing these quick start segments in practice. That is, at random aspects in practice, they're blowing the whistle, and they're entering high-stakes, game-like scenarios. That's something that I did when I played football, and that's something that I had called for in one of my videos earlier this year, because it seems like in these big games, in the big moments of these big games, A&M is making the big mistakes, the big blunders, while the other teams are making the big game-winning plays and winning these game-time moments. So I think these things are exactly what the doctor ordered in regards to cleaning some stuff up, at least what you can do mid-season with a couple of games left. So I love that stuff. I love Elijah Robinson. Have you guys seen his list of recruits as the primary recruiter? List of current commits and previous signees? It's absolutely ridiculous. So many blue chip offensive and defensive linemen and Isaiah Spiller. I'll put them on the screen for you right now. It's an amazing list. How do you guys feel about Elijah Robinson as the head coach? I mean, I feel like that's picked up some serious momentum over the course of the week. I feel like every time he takes to the podium, every time we get nuggets about him and the changes he's made to this team in short time, I feel like every time something comes out, fan interest goes up and people are more and more on board with E-Rob taking over every day. Now, I'm not saying he's the leader of the pack. I'm just saying I don't think any Aggie would be upset about it. Bobby Petrino, excited to see him at the helm of this offense. Excited to see what he does with Jalen Henderson in Jalen Henderson's second start of his career. E-Rob and Bobby. That sounds like a match made in heaven because you have E-Rob, the players coach, CEO type guy, camaraderie guy, a guy that can bring this team together, form unity, form hype. And then you have the guy, the mathematician, the guy that can run the offense. E-Rob doesn't have to touch the offense. You can trust a former head coach and Bobby Petrino to run it. I like that combo. So, guys, let's talk about a couple other rumors. Let's talk about a couple of unfortunate things that have come up about A&M and the transfers and potential transfers by a couple of news sites, or one in particular. I think you know what I'm getting at. Talk about that. But first, if you guys could like and subscribe, that would help me greatly. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch my 1,000 subscriber special where I ring dunked and then did a call-in show. It was a great time. It kind of went off the rails, but we had some good conversations too. I recommend you checking that video out. It was awesome. So guys, let's get into it. All right, so I want to start out with a couple of confirmed candidates that we've heard of in this short period since Jimbo's been fired. Keep in mind, I am not an insider. I keep a sharp eye on what the insiders are saying, and I bring it to you guys. We talk about it. We digest it. We give you the opportunity to talk here on this platform about the doings and the goings-on of Aggie football. I'm not a source. I'm a commentator. I'm a fan. I'm an opinionator. So keep that in mind. Most of the stuff coming from Billy Lucci, some stuff from Josh Pate, obviously two of the main names in our worlds as Aggie football fans. Tons of insiders out there, so make sure you check them out. So it's been confirmed that Jeff Traylor interviewed. I think we all figured that would be on the table. I think with his press conference earlier this week, he in no way shut down him as a potential candidate for this job when he was asked what he thought about that rumor. He's been interviewed. It was a nice long 90-minute interview over Zoom, 100% confirmed. From a UT source, which is interesting, read into that what you will, that happened. It's also been confirmed that A&M has already interviewed up to 8 guys at this point, and by now it could be even more than that. And some names that are legitimate candidates that we suspected but have been confirmed to be candidates: DeBoer, Elko, others. Those are 2 names that you can keep on your list for sure going forward. But we've also heard, and this is pretty significant, from Josh Pate, Billy Lucci, and others, that this coaching search is spanning far and wide across the country. Names you would never expect, the Dabo Sweeneys of the world, Freeman, Day, Hartline. More names than you could ever expect are in this coaching search. To what level of interest these guys have in Texas A&M, I don't know that, but just expect that these phone calls are happening across the country, and there's interest from across the country. We don't have all the names yet, but we can confirm that those names that I mentioned earlier, DeBoer, Elko, Traylor, those names are in the hat right now, and potentially all have been interviewed at this point. So keep an eye on the insiders. They're going to give you more information. I'll talk about things as they come up. Today, Dan Campbell pretty much shut down all chances of him becoming the coach here. I think we suspected that that really wasn't on the table with his current situation with the Detroit Lions. Today, he said he wants to help out A&M in any way possible, except for coaching. So Dan Campbell, as much as a home run that would be, it's not happening. We expected that. I think we can safely cross him and Lanning off the list. So I have a question for you guys that I've been juggling around my head, going back and forth on. Like I've said before, I've gone back and forth on who I think is the right candidate for Texas A&M. I think at the end of the day, we don't know, and we won't know until several years into their tenure. But should A&M be going for someone that's on the come up, like a Jeff Traylor, a Mike Elko, Kalen DeBoer? He's still on the come up too, only 2 years at a major program. Or should A&M be targeting someone more established, like a Dabo Sweeney? I know a lot of people are against that one. It's just a name that's been circling, so I'm using it here. Ryan Day, whose name has come up in rumors, which I think is a major long shot. Where do you guys stand in that? Because I think there's definitely something to getting someone while they're coming up, while they're building their career. Because think about some of the most successful names that have transferred into major programs the last few years. Dan Lanning, he was a coordinator before. Kirby Smart, coordinator. Ryan Day, coordinator. These guys were on the come up, primed, poised to become great, but they weren't yet great. They were able to enter a program and make it their own. Now, I know Ryan Day, you might say he walked into a great situation, but he was still on the come up and able to make the program his own without any predetermined notions about how things should run, aside from what he saw from afar as a coordinator. I don't know. That's something I'm juggling with. I mean, I think there's excitement either way. I think getting someone established makes a lot of sense because obviously you have a great roster right now, a great young roster. Most of your best players are going to become upperclassmen next year. You open a really great window regarding your roster and the easing up of the schedule over the next year and maybe the next 2 years. You don't have Alabama or Georgia on your schedule next year. Maybe getting someone established that can hit the ground running is in A&M's best interest. I know we heard from Billy Lucci earlier in the week that A&M is limited in their budget to spend for this coaching search. I have my doubts that if the right name popped up, that A&M wouldn't make the money come forward. I don't think you force it, but I think it should be on the table, and I think it should definitely be an option. So I don't know. I'm back and forth on that. Do you get a guy who's unproven, or do you get a guy who's a surefire winner, someone else, but they've already done it? Back and forth on that one. You tell me. Now, this is a quick video, guys. The last thing I want to talk about is the 247 Sports segment that circulated social media Thursday night of this week. It was a segment. I don't know who the people were. I haven't really seen these people before that work for 247. But essentially, they were talking about where current A&M players would fit best next year. They were talking about Walter Nolan fitting best at UT, Connor Wigman fitting best at UT. It was basically a conversation that you see about like NBA free agents that are looking to move elsewhere, or players that are rumored to be on the trade block in professional sports, not college sports. And I know we're in a weird era of college football. They're kind of hybrid pro, semi-pro athletes, but at the end of the day, they are not pro athletes. They're not employees. They're students. To talk about them transferring in that capacity, in that regard where you're putting them on the spotlight of a TV show talking about them at another school. To me, that's reckless and kind of disrespectful to them and their families, because you don't know their level of happiness at Texas A&M. You don't know their level of buy-in to their current situation. I thought that was a pretty bad look. I actually think it was a really good thing for Texas A&M. I think that pissed off players. If I'm the coach, I'm putting a picture of that segment in the locker room, and I'm putting that in the forefront of their minds at all times. These guys think that you are wishy-washy, and they think you want to move. Aside from that, talking about players transferring out of Texas A&M, we've only had one transfer so far, and it was a player that's not in the rotation. This team is held together so far, and if you didn't know this, the transfer portal window opens for any team that fires their coach. So the day Jimbo was fired, a 30-day transfer portal window opened for Texas A&M. Only one player has entered it. So that tells me that Elijah Robinson has done a great job. It's very early. We shouldn't get too excited yet. But no one's done it yet. I give Elijah Robinson a lot of credit. But also, going forward, NIL is a factor these days. It just is. We have to talk about it. Even if players are looking for better contracts, or whatever you want to call it, better money deals, who's going to match what A&M can offer? Who's going to match what A&M can offer these players for them to stay? Maybe you can offer them the bag to leave, but I guarantee you A&M is willing to match that for certain players. So if that's a factor, A&M is going to be able to play ball with that. So I just thought that was a super reckless thing to do by 247 Sports, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to help the Aggies out. 247 also did something great for Texas A&M, and what they did that was great for Texas A&M is continue to employ Josh Pate, who has been going on rant after rant about why Texas A&M truly is a top-tier program for a coach to coach at. I talked about it in my last video, but essentially A&M has every resource, every facility, all the money, all the buy-in, the fan support, the stadium, everything you could ever want to succeed as a head coach is at Texas A&M. No one here is arguing that we have a great history in winning. No one here is arguing that, we're an annual playoff contender now. All we're saying is every tool is here. We just need the right pilot for it. But to argue that A&M is not a top destination for any top coach in the country, any coach would want to coach here if it makes sense for their current situation. So guys, I just wanted to give you some quick thoughts going into this weekend. I told you if anything comes up, I'm going to do a video out of my truck like I did last week, give you guys updates if we need to. But if not, I'll see you guys Monday. We'll talk about the next week going into the LSU game. Super, super exciting end to the season, guys. I feel rejuvenated. I don't know about you, but this is really, really fun, kind of nerve-wracking, but fun times as an Aggie fan. So with that, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Gig 'em.